of Amnesty International, Salil Shetty. He joins us live from CNN Paris. And sir, thank you so much for joining us here on the program. Amnesty International usually goes after dictators and warlords, but in your latest annual report, you're targeting the U.S. president. So are you more alarmed by Donald Trump's rhetoric or his actions just 1 month in the White House?
Well, I think what's unique about 2016, and which is what our report says, that historically, yes, Amnesty International has had to fight against dictators who are violating human rights. But now we have elected leaders from the Philippines to Turkey to several other countries who are also now with a popular mandate starting to abuse human rights. But what's most scary after Brexit and now the election of Donald Trump in the US is that this is starting to hit the Western countries who have historically been champions of human rights. And I'm sitting in Paris now where there's going to be an election very shortly, and we have elections in the Netherlands and several other European countries. So this is most alarming. Now, on the question you asked about Donald Trump's, is it rhetoric or is it real anxiety? I think, during the election campaign, we were obviously anxious by his bigotry and racism and xenophobia and misogyny in terms of his anti-women rhetoric. But now it's getting to be much more serious because with the new thinly veiled Muslim ban, we are finding that this is starting to affect real people on the ground. You can imagine if you're a set of Somali communities traveling to the US after a whole process of fleeing from war and persecution, and now you're pushed back, you're banned from coming in. First of all, this is completely inhumane. Secondly, it's completely unlawful because it's against the US Constitution, it's against international human rights law. And thirdly, it's totally stupid because his promise to the American people, he's going to make the country more safe and more prosperous. The fact is, he's not just making the US less safe, he's making the whole world less safe. And everybody knows that migrants coming in only makes countries more prosperous. So completely misleading the people, confusing people, and this is happening in many parts of the world as we speak. It's not just Trump, but it's a phenomenon.
Got it. In regards to the travel ban, there has been significant pushback, including judicial pushback in the travel ban. A new version of that will be coming out soon. We'll be digging into the details of that in the coming days. But in your report, the Amnesty report, you also name-check former U.S. President Barack Obama and a blight on his human rights record. How so?
Absolutely, because what we are facing last year also is that 23 countries have committed war crimes. So bombing of schools, of hospitals, of funeral processions are just happening in Yemen and Sudan, in Syria, of course. And why is this happening? Why is the United States continuing to fund Saudi Arabia and give them arms to attack civilians in countries like Yemen? So this is why it's not just an issue of Trump. It's a question of how Western countries are using human rights in a very selective way. Last year alone, it wasn't just about war crimes or about pushing refugees back. We've seen a very serious crackdown on anybody defending human rights, from Turkey to China to Egypt to Ethiopia. So this is a very worrying phenomenon, and our call is not just on leaders, because we do have some responsible value-based leaders we've seen like in Germany and Canada, but ultimately it's for people to stand up for human rights and to come in the way. We are saying you have to come in the way of these leaders who are outright trying to destroy human rights. This is the time for people to stand up.
Right. In your report, you do call out former President Obama and his